Chosen by royalty, the human stunned everyone, including the alien queen. The light reflected off the city's towers, making them appear alive, almost as if they were breathing. Everything about this world was alien yet strangely mesmerizing. Tall, thin buildings that curved like living vines, streets paved with translucent panels that glowed faintly with energy, and skies that shifted colors from pale lavender to soft gold depending on the time of day. Elias had seen images of Gyrion in textbooks and scientific reports, but nothing had prepared him for the brilliance of reality. He adjusted his travel pack, feeling the subtle hum of his translator device embedded in his collar. The air smelled faintly metallic, like rain on a new circuit board, and a soft wind carried the distant sound of alien voices. He glanced around, taking note of the citizens moving with grace and precision, their elongated limbs and iridescent skin catching the sunlight in flashes of color. Even their expressions were unusual, as if emotion flowed more in patterns and gestures than in words. "Doctor." "Cade," a voice called, smooth and melodic but carrying an unmistakable authority. Elias turned to see a figure approaching him. It was an alien, shorter than many of the beings he had seen through observation drones, with deep blue skin and eyes that shimmered like liquid silver. The uniform it wore was elegant and ceremonial, embroidered with symbols he did not recognize. "Welcome to Gyrion," the alien said. "I am Delith, your guide and liaison during your stay. The court expects your arrival promptly, but first, I will explain some basic protocols to help you navigate our world." Elias nodded, grateful for the guidance. "Thank you. I've read the manuals, but I'm sure real experience is very different." Delith smiled, a brief, graceful curve of their features. "It is. We value precision and respect, but we also value curiosity. That is why your presence here is unusual and welcome." Elias raised an eyebrow. Unusual and welcome. He had expected to observe, maybe assist in minor experiments, but he suspected that being unusual might mean that the aliens had higher expectations than he imagined. The walk to the main palace took them through the heart of the city. Elias noticed details everywhere. Crystalline trees lined the streets, their branches producing faint musical tones as the wind passed through them. Hovering platforms carried citizens from one level of the city to another, moving smoothly and silently. Children, or what he assumed were children, played games that involved floating spheres of light, controlling them with gestures rather than touching them. Every step he took seemed to reveal something more astonishing, yet Elias remained careful to appear calm, absorbing it all without letting his astonishment show too much. When they reached the palace, Elias felt a wave of awe. It was enormous, spanning acres of crystalline walls that caught the sunlight and refracted it into dazzling patterns. The entrance hall was vast, high enough to make him feel like a small creature beneath a colossal sky. Alien symbols moved along the walls, changing subtly as he watched, telling stories he could not yet understand. The air inside was cooler, scented faintly with minerals and flowers he could not identify. Delith led him to a waiting chamber where several members of the alien court were already assembled. Elias recognized immediately that they were watching him with quiet, calculated curiosity. Each movement, each glance seemed purposeful, as if they were measuring his reactions and cataloging his responses. One of them, taller than the rest and with eyes like polished amber, nodded in his direction. Elias returned the gesture, careful to mimic the formalities he had read about. "You may sit," Delith said. "The queen will meet you shortly, but the princess requests your presence first. It is a rare honor." Elias felt a jolt of surprise. The princess? Here. Usually, he thought, royalty remained distant, especially on foreign worlds. But curiosity shone in his chest, mingled with nerves. He followed Delith to another chamber, smaller but no less grand. The walls here were adorned with crystalline mosaics that seemed to move under his gaze, depicting scenes of alien history, exploration, and discovery. And then he saw her. Princess Lyra stood near the center of the room, her presence immediately commanding attention. Unlike the other aliens he had seen, she radiated warmth in a subtle way. Her skin was a soft silver blue, her eyes a deep violet that seemed to study him with intensity. She was tall and graceful, moving with a quiet elegance that suggested confidence without arrogance. When she spoke, her voice was melodic, gentle, and yet carried authority. "You are Dr. Elias Cade," she said, her accent unfamiliar but clear. "We have observed humans before, but few have come to Jarian in person. You are unusual." Elias swallowed, not sure whether to take that as a compliment or a warning. "I hope that is in a good sense," he replied carefully. Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile. "It is. You think differently than we do, and that is intriguing. We have a task, a problem that our specialists could not solve. I believe you may see it in a way that we cannot." Elia's pulse quickened. This was beyond any academic or diplomatic mission he had imagined. "I will do my best," he said, trying to keep his voice steady despite the rush of excitement in his chest. Lyra inclined her head. "Observe first. Learn. You may not understand everything at once, but your perspective is valuable. The Queen will join us shortly to see your arrival." For the next hour, Elias followed Princess Lyra through a series of rooms filled with alien devices and displays. He saw energy matrices he could only partially comprehend, machines that seemed alive, and data streams that danced in 3 dimensions. He asked questions, sometimes simple, sometimes probing, and Lyra responded patiently, occasionally guiding him with subtle hints rather than outright explanations. As they moved, Elias noticed that other members of the court were watching him. Some seemed skeptical, others curious, but all were restrained, maintaining the dignified composure that defined their society. Yet he felt the weight of their eyes, not as judgment, but as observation, as if they were studying a specimen with careful fascination. He had expected scrutiny, but this felt different, more personal. Finally, they arrived in a grand observatory, a room that overlooked the city and beyond, where the twin suns bathed everything in gold and lavender light. Lyra gestured to a large device at the center, a structure of crystal and metal that pulsed faintly with energy. "This is the convergence matrix," she explained. "It is a device of knowledge and learning created by our greatest minds. But even they have failed to unlock its full potential. Perhaps you can see what they cannot." Elias approached cautiously, examining the intricate design. It was beautiful, alien in every sense, yet he felt a spark of recognition in the patterns, shapes and sequences that reminded him of human mathematics and logic. He did not yet understand how it worked, but instinctively he began tracing connections, forming hypotheses in his mind. Lyra watched silently, her expression unreadable, but there was a flicker of hope in her eyes. "You will work here under observation," she said. "But know this, Dr. Cade, failure is not shameful. Attempting and thinking differently is what matters most. You may surprise us all." Elias nodded, feeling a strange mixture of anxiety and exhilaration. This was no ordinary mission. It was an opportunity to prove that humans could offer something unique, even to a civilization that had mastered technologies far beyond his world. The doors opened suddenly, and a figure entered, the alien queen, tall and regal, her presence commanding attention without effort. Her skin was darker, more refined, and her eyes carried the weight of experience and authority. Elias instinctively straightened, aware that he was now in the presence of the most powerful individual on the planet. "Dr. Cade," Queen Thalira said, her voice resonant and controlled, "we have heard much about humans. We will see if your abilities match your reputation." Elias bowed slightly, careful not to offend. "I will do my best, Your Majesty." The Queen studied him for a long moment, then inclined her head subtly, a gesture of cautious acceptance. Princess Lyra believes you are promising. You will begin your work tomorrow. Observe, think, and act wisely. Our eyes will remain on you, for your success or failure may influence more than just this mission." As the meeting concluded, Elias stepped back into the hallway, his mind racing. He felt the enormity of what lay ahead, not just the technical challenge, but the social and political weight of being a human in an alien court. Yet beneath the pressure, there was excitement, a spark of pride. He had been chosen, not for lineage or power, but for something deeper: his mind, his perspective, and perhaps the unique qualities of humanity itself. That night, Elias lay in the quarters provided by the palace, staring at the glowing skyline of Gyrion. He thought of the convergence matrix, of Princess Lyra's eyes, of Queen Thalira's measured gaze. He knew that tomorrow would be the first true test, and that every move he made could surprise or disappoint the most powerful beings he had ever encountered. And yet, despite the nerves, he felt a quiet certainty. He was ready to show what humans could do. Outside, the twin suns set in a symphony of gold and violet, painting the crystalline city in colors Elias had never imagined. And for the first time, he felt that perhaps humans could belong here, even among the stars. The morning sun spilled through the crystalline windows, casting fractured light across the vast palace halls. Dr. Elias Cade woke early, his mind already spinning with the day ahead. He had slept fitfully, thoughts of the convergence matrix and the princess's words intertwining with images of the alien city. The palace was quiet now, but he could hear distant echoes of activity beyond the walls: the gentle hum of energy transporters, the soft steps of palace staff, and the murmur of voices in languages he could only begin to understand. Elias dressed carefully in the formal attire provided, a lightweight suit that shimmered faintly with embedded energy fibers. It was unlike anything worn on Earth, but he appreciated its elegant simplicity. His translator embedded in the collar would allow him to understand and respond in real time, though he still marveled at how smoothly it worked. Every movement, every gesture, seemed designed to harmonize with the surroundings, as if the suit itself were part of the palace. Delith arrived promptly at the door, as if on cue, and nodded to Elias. "The queen will receive you soon, but first, the princess wishes to accompany you to the selection ceremony. It will be held in the Grand Hall. Your performance there will not only demonstrate skill, but also character." Elias felt a flicker of nervousness. Performance, character. He had studied alien etiquette, protocols, and ceremonial customs, but nothing had prepared him for the weight of being evaluated by royalty directly. Yet beneath the nerves was a steady determination. He had come here to learn, to observe, and perhaps to show what humans could do. He squared his shoulders, following Delith through the palace corridors. The grand hall was breathtaking. Its ceiling stretched high above, a dome of interlaced crystalline filaments that glowed with a soft, internal light. The floor reflected the structure above, creating the illusion of an endless space where ceiling and floor merged. The walls were adorned with moving mosaics, telling stories of Gyrian's history: explorers charting distant stars, scientists unlocking the secrets of matter, and monarchs guiding their people with wisdom and vision. Citizens of the court were already assembled, their expressions controlled but curious. Elias recognized a few of the specialists he had seen the previous day, the alien scholars whose work had failed to unlock the secrets of the convergence matrix. He felt their eyes on him, measuring, comparing, anticipating. Among them were nobles in flowing robes, advisors with elongated limbs and subtle, iridescent markings, and younger courtiers who moved with a fluidity that reminded Elias of dancers. Princess Lyra appeared beside him quietly, her presence immediately centering the room. She did not speak, but her gaze swept over the assembly, commanding attention without raising her voice. The court fell silent, every pair of eyes turning to her. Elias felt an unusual calm wash over him in her presence, as if her focus somehow shielded him from the tension around him. A low hum filled the hall, the sound of energy resonating through the crystalline walls. Lyra raised her hand, a subtle gesture, and a large platform began to rise from the center of the floor. On it stood the convergence matrix, bathed in soft light, its crystalline structure pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. The alien stepped back, creating a circle around it, leaving space for Elias to approach. "Dr. Cade," Lyra said, her voice carrying clearly without amplification, "today you will demonstrate not only your understanding but also your creativity. Many have attempted and all have failed. The Matrix has remained a mystery for centuries. We wish to see if a human perspective can uncover what our methods could not." Elias nodded, swallowing the lump of nervousness in his throat. "I will do my best, Princess." Lyra inclined her head slightly. "Do not focus only on the outcome. The process is as important as the solution. Observation, adaptation, and insight, these are qualities we value." He stepped forward, feeling the smooth surface of the platform beneath his feet. The matrix was even more complex than he had imagined. Crystalline panels rotated, connected by delicate metallic filaments, each panel embedded with strange energy patterns that seemed to shift according to unseen rules. The light refracted in colors he had never seen, and small motes of energy drifted through the air, responding to his presence with subtle movement. Elias took a deep breath. He began to examine the structure systematically, tracing the sequences with his fingers, observing how the crystals reacted. He did not attempt to force the matrix, as many alien scientists might have, but instead observed patterns, noticing repetition and deviation. He thought in human ways, hypotheses formed, tested, and adjusted rapidly. Minutes passed, then hours, though time felt fluid in the hall. The court watched in silence, some skeptical, others intrigued. Elias noticed subtle exchanges between the specialists, their expressions betraying disbelief as he adjusted one crystal, and another responded in a way that no alien had predicted. His methods were different, yet effective. Princess Lyra watched closely, occasionally leaning forward to study his approach. "You are seeing what we cannot," she said softly, almost to herself. "Your mind approaches patterns differently, uniquely." Elias felt a surge of encouragement. He did not fully understand the language of the matrix, but intuition guided him. He began experimenting with combinations that seemed counterintuitive, moving panels in ways that violated conventional alien logic. Slowly, the matrix responded, aligning segments and emitting soft harmonics that indicated progress. The court murmured in astonishment. Queen Thalira entered quietly, her presence immediately commanding attention. She observed from the edge of the hall, her amber eyes focused on Elias. Unlike the princess, she did not offer encouragement. Her gaze was analytical, measuring not only his actions but his demeanor, his reactions, his calm under pressure. Elias felt a flicker of anxiety. This was the ultimate evaluation, yet he did not falter. Hours turned into what felt like a single, extended moment. Elias felt a rhythm emerge in his work, a connection with the matrix that was almost instinctive. He could sense the flow of energy, the movement of patterns, and the relationships between panels. Slowly, deliberately, he began aligning segments in sequences that felt natural, yet unconventional. A hum grew stronger, the crystalline panels beginning to stabilize. The light shifted into harmonious colors, and a gentle vibration spread through the platform. The court leaned forward collectively, the tension palpable. Specialists who had spent lifetimes studying the matrix exchanged astonished glances. No one had anticipated this approach. No one had expected the human to succeed. Finally, with a careful adjustment of the final segment, the matrix pulsed brightly, a soft chime resonating through the hall. The energy flow settled into a perfect pattern, radiating clarity and balance. Silence fell for a moment, as if the hall itself was absorbing what had just occurred. Then the court erupted, not in chaos, but in a controlled, deliberate display of amazement and approval. Lyra's eyes sparkled with delight. "Dr. Cade," she said, her voice carrying both warmth and pride, "you have done what many thought impossible. You have seen the Matrix in ways our minds could not. You have succeeded." Elias exhaled, relief and exhilaration washing over him. He had not only solved a technical challenge, but had done so in a way that honored the principles Lyra had emphasized: observation, adaptation, and insight. The Queen stepped forward, her expression composed but her eyes betraying a hint of astonishment. "You have demonstrated exceptional ability, Dr. Cade," she said. "Humans are a species we have underestimated. Today, you have proven that perspective, creativity, and courage are not limited to those with advanced technology or centuries of tradition." Elias bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I am honored, and I am eager to continue learning and assisting." A ripple of applause spread through the court. Aliens who had doubted the human now regarded him with a mix of respect and curiosity. Specialists whispered to each other, exchanging theories about how he had achieved what they could not. Elias felt a quiet pride but remained humble, understanding that this was only the beginning. Lyra approached him, her gaze warm. "You have shown not only skill but character," she said. "You remained calm under scrutiny, adapted when needed, and trusted your own reasoning. These are qualities that will serve you well in what is to come." Elias smiled, feeling a rare sense of belonging. Here, in a world so different from his own, he had found that human ingenuity, patience, and intuition could bridge the gap between species and unlock possibilities even the most advanced aliens had overlooked. The Queen's voice carried once more. "Dr. Cade, you are officially recognized as a valued contributor to Gyrian's scientific and exploratory missions. Your success today marks the beginning of a new relationship between our peoples, one founded on respect, understanding, and mutual benefit." Elias bowed again, deeply aware of the honor and responsibility bestowed upon him. He glanced at Lyra, who nodded encouragingly, and he knew that this was not the end of the journey but the first step of something far greater. As the ceremony concluded, the court slowly dispersed, leaving Elias and the princess alone for a brief moment. "Tomorrow, the real work begins," Lyra said softly. "You have impressed many today, but there is much more to discover. Are you ready?" Elias met her gaze steadily. "I am ready. I've come this far and I want to see what humans and Gyrian can achieve together." Lyra smiled, a genuine, warm expression that seemed to brighten the room. "Then let us begin. Together, we may accomplish more than any of us imagined." As Elias left the grand hall, he felt the weight of expectation, yes, but also a sense of excitement that pushed away doubt. He had been chosen, not for status or wealth, but for his mind, his perspective, and his willingness to think differently. He understood now that being human, curious, adaptable, persistent, was a gift that could change the course of even the most advanced civilizations. Outside, the Gyrian skyline glowed under the rising suns. Crystalline towers reflected light in patterns that shifted with the wind, as if celebrating the human who had stunned royalty and scholars alike. Elias walked through the streets with a steady pace, feeling both humbled and emboldened. He was no longer merely an observer. He was a participant, a bridge between worlds, and perhaps, in time, a symbol of what humans could achieve when they dared to challenge the impossible. The morning air on Gyrian was crisp, carrying the soft hum of energy from the city's towers. Dr. Elias Cade stepped out of the palace, feeling a thrill he had never experienced on Earth. Today marked the beginning of his real work, the moment when theory would turn into action, and when his human perspective would be tested against challenges that had confounded even the most brilliant alien minds. He adjusted his translator and examined the map of the mission area projected before him, Princess Lyra was waiting at the edge of the palace grounds. Her posture was composed, but her violet eyes held a spark of excitement. "Are you ready?" she asked. Elias nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be. I just hope I can live up to what you and the Queen expect." Lyra smiled faintly. "You will. Remember, it is not only skill we value, but observation and creativity. Approach everything with an open mind. Let your instincts guide you as much as your knowledge." They stepped into a transport vehicle, a sleek craft that hovered silently above the palace grounds. As they rose into the sky, Elias caught his first panoramic view of Gyrian's surrounding landscape beyond the city. Vast plains stretched toward distant mountains whose peaks shimmered like silver. Rivers of light, carrying energy rather than water, snaked across the terrain, and strange crystalline flora dotted the fields, glowing softly in the morning light. "This is the path to the ancient structure," Lyra explained, pointing to a distant plateau. "It is called the Arcanum Spire. It has stood for millennia, and its secrets remain unsolved. The matrix you worked with yesterday is a fragment of its knowledge. Here, you will confront the challenge directly." Elias felt a surge of anticipation. All the reports he had read described the spire as an architectural and technological marvel, but nothing compared to seeing it in person. The structure rose abruptly from the plateau, tapering toward the sky like a giant needle of crystal and metal. Strange glyphs ran along its surface, pulsing faintly with energy. The air around it shimmered, distorting light and space in subtle ways. He could sense the complexity immediately, and he realized why even the most advanced alien scientists had failed to unravel its mysteries. The vehicle landed smoothly at the base of the plateau. Elias stepped out, feeling the hum of energy from the spire through the ground beneath him. He took a deep breath, mentally preparing for the task ahead. Lyra stood beside him, her calm presence grounding him. "We have prepared an observation station nearby," she said. "You may interact with the spire directly, but we will monitor all your actions. Begin when you are ready." Elias approached the spire cautiously, studying the glyphs and patterns etched into the surface. Unlike the Matrix, the spire's mechanisms were not immediately responsive. It seemed almost alive, as if it were waiting, testing, assessing him before allowing interaction. He traced the patterns with his fingers, noting subtle vibrations in the crystal and shifts in the light as he moved. He paused, thinking carefully. Humans had a tendency to look at problems differently than the aliens, where they often approached systems methodically, relying on centuries of precedent and protocol. Humans relied on intuition and experimentation. Elias decided to trust his instincts. He began testing small sequences of glyphs, pressing panels in unconventional patterns, observing the energy flows and noting subtle reactions. Minutes turned into hours. The sun climbed higher, casting shifting reflections on the crystalline surface. The alien observers remained silent, recording every motion, every adjustment. Elias ignored their presence, fully absorbed in the task. Slowly, he began to notice patterns that suggested the spire's functions were interconnected, not isolated. Adjusting one panel affected others in ways that no alien model had predicted. Lyra watched closely, occasionally leaning forward to offer subtle guidance. "Notice the flow," she whispered. "It is not static. It changes according to interaction. Think beyond fixed logic." Elias nodded silently. He adjusted his approach, thinking dynamically rather than linearly. He imagined the energy as a river, flowing through channels that shifted with input. He began moving panels to redirect the flow, creating loops and feedback patterns. At first there was only minor response, faint pulses and glimmers, but gradually the spire began to react more strongly. A low hum filled the air, resonating through the plateau. Elias felt the vibration in his chest, a rhythm that matched his pulse. He realized that the spire was not only mechanical but also responsive to thought patterns, perception, and intuition. Humans, with their creativity and flexibility of thought, could approach such systems in ways the aliens could not. Hours passed, but Elias remained focused. He experimented with sequences that seemed illogical by alien standards, yet he observed carefully and adjusted. Slowly, patterns began to stabilize. Panels shifted in harmony, glyphs glowed brighter, and energy flowed steadily through the spire's channels. The observers leaned forward, eyes widening as they realized the human's approach was producing results. Queen Thalira arrived at the observation station, her presence commanding attention even at a distance. She remained silent, watching the spire and Elias, her expression inscrutable. Yet there was a subtle shift in her posture, a recognition that something extraordinary was unfolding. Lyra turned to Elias, her expression encouraging. "You are seeing connections they could not. Trust yourself and continue. Every observation matters." Elias took a deep breath and continued, moving beyond sequences that were immediately obvious. He began combining panels and glyphs in ways that no prior model had suggested. Energy began to flow through the spire with increasing intensity, and the structure seemed to respond almost as if it were alive, amplifying his inputs and stabilizing patterns that had been chaotic for centuries. By late afternoon, the spire emitted a steady, harmonious hum. Light radiated from its surface in shifting patterns, refracting across the plateau like a symphony of color. The observers whispered among themselves, amazement evident even in their controlled manner. Specialists who had studied the spire for decades exchanged looks of disbelief. A human had achieved what they could not. Elias stepped back, wiping sweat from his brow. He felt exhilarated but focused. He still had to ensure that the system was stable and that his adjustments would not cause unforeseen consequences. He traced the remaining channels, fine-tuning the energy flow, and slowly, the spire settled into a state of balance that seemed perfect. Lyra's eyes sparkled with admiration. "You have done it, Elias. You have achieved what none before could. The spire responds to your understanding, your insight, and your creativity. You see what we could not." Elias felt a quiet pride, but he remained humble. "I only followed what I could observe," he said. "I adapted as I learned. The spire guided me as much as I guided it." The Queen spoke from the observation station, her voice carrying across the plateau. "Dr. Cade, your success is extraordinary. Humans are often underestimated, but today you have shown that perspective, intuition, and adaptability are qualities even the most advanced civilizations cannot ignore. You have proven that collaboration between species is more than possible. It is necessary for progress." Elias bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I am honored, and I hope this is just the beginning of what we can accomplish together." The court erupted into controlled applause, and even the specialists, humbled, approached to acknowledge the human who had unlocked the spire. It was a moment of recognition, not for status or power but for intellect, creativity, and courage, the very qualities that defined humanity in the eyes of the aliens. Lyra approached him, her expression thoughtful. "Today, you have not only succeeded technically, but also shown patience, persistence, and ingenuity. These qualities will serve you well in what comes next. The spire is only the beginning. There are deeper challenges, and you have proven you can meet them." Elias nodded, absorbing her words. He had faced the unknown and succeeded, not through brute force or strict adherence to protocol, but through observation, intuition, and human creativity. He felt a growing sense of responsibility. What he had done today was significant, but the journey was far from over. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the plateau, Elias and Lyra descended from the spire. The air shimmered with residual energy, and Elias could still feel the hum of the structure beneath his feet. It was a reminder that the spire was not just a machine but a living puzzle, responsive to thought and perception. Lyra spoke quietly as they walked back to the transport vehicle. You have made an impression on the court, on the specialists, and even the queen. But remember, your greatest strength is not what you have achieved here today. It is how you think, how you adapt, and how you approach every challenge with an open mind. That is what makes humans extraordinary. Elias smiled, feeling both pride and humility. I understand. I hope I can continue to live up to that. The vehicle lifted off the plateau, carrying them back toward the palace as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in gold and violet hues. Elias watched the spire shrink in the distance, a monumental testament to the power of observation, creativity, and collaboration. He knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for the first time he felt a deep certainty. Humans had a place in the cosmos, not as observers or followers, but as thinkers, creators, and problem solvers who could surprise even the most advanced civilizations. As the palace lights shimmered below, Elias reflected on the day. He had faced a challenge that seemed impossible, yet through patience, insight, and trust in his own perspective, he had succeeded. The recognition from the queen and the admiration of the princess were affirmations not just of skill, but of the human spirit, curious, resilient, and capable of extraordinary thought. He prepared for the evening debrief with the court, knowing that more responsibilities awaited. Yet beneath the anticipation, there was a quiet thrill. For the first time, he felt that humans and aliens could truly learn from each other. That collaboration could yield discoveries neither could achieve alone, and that his presence here was not an accident, but a sign of the potential humans carried in a universe full of wonder. The stars emerged above Gyrion, and Elias felt a sense of connection that transcended planets and species. Here, in a world so alien yet so vibrant, he had proven that humans could think differently, act creatively, and achieve the extraordinary. The journey was far from over, but for the first time he felt the thrill of being not just a visitor, but a participant in shaping the future of an entire civilization. The palace was alive with quiet energy the next morning. Doctor. Elias Cade moved through the halls with a sense of purpose he had never experienced before. Word of his success with the Convergence Matrix and the Arcanum Spire had already spread through the court, and he could feel the subtle shifts in attention. Aliens who had once regarded him with polite curiosity now watched with respect. He could sense the undercurrent of astonishment. Humans were proving themselves in ways no one had expected. Princess Lyra met him at the palace entrance, her violet eyes reflecting the soft light of the twin suns. Today, the Queen will formally recognize your contributions, she said. This is more than ceremony, it is a statement. You have shown that humans are capable of more than even our scholars believed. Elias felt a surge of anticipation. Recognition from royalty was a rare honor, but he knew this moment carried weight beyond personal accolades. It was an opportunity to bridge the gap between species, to show that humans could contribute meaningfully to alien civilizations, and perhaps even to inspire a new era of cooperation. The grand hall was prepared for the formal ceremony. Crystalline panels reflected the morning light, creating patterns that danced across the floor. The assembly of the court, specialists, and dignitaries was larger than before, the air buzzing with anticipation. Elias could feel the weight of countless eyes upon him, but he held his composure, walking with measured steps toward the center of the hall. Queen Thalira was seated on her elevated platform, regal and imposing. Her amber eyes studied him carefully as he approached. Beside her, Princess Lyra stood with a quiet grace, her presence a source of reassurance. The air was still, charged with expectation. Dr. Cade, Queen Thalira began, her voice carrying clearly throughout the hall, you have accomplished what many considered impossible. You have succeeded where our finest minds could not through force or technology alone, but through insight, observation, and creativity. For that, you have earned our recognition. Elias bowed respectfully. Thank you, Your Majesty. I am honored beyond words." The queen inclined her head slightly, a gesture of acknowledgement. "Your actions have demonstrated that humans possess qualities we have underestimated: adaptability, intuition, and a willingness to explore the unknown. Today, you have not only solved a challenge but shown that perspective matters as much as knowledge." Lyra stepped forward, placing a delicate hand on a crystal podium. "The princess and I have observed your work closely, Dr. Cade. Your approach has been thoughtful, patient, and insightful. You have earned the trust and respect of this court, and I am pleased to recognize you as an official advisor and collaborator for Jarian's most critical projects." A subtle murmur of approval swept through the assembly. Specialists who had doubted his methods now nodded in respect. Aliens who had been skeptical smiled faintly, realizing that the human presence was not only valid but valuable. Elias felt a mixture of pride and humility, understanding that this honor was not just personal, it represented a bridge between worlds. The queen's voice continued, resonant and deliberate. "Dr. Cade, you are hereby recognized as an honorary ambassador of human knowledge and ingenuity. Your perspective will guide our work, and your contributions will be recorded for future generations. This is a recognition of intellect, creativity, and courage, the qualities that define not only you but the potential of humanity itself." Elia's chest swelled with a quiet pride. This was more than a title or accolade. It was acknowledgement of the human spirit, of qualities that had allowed him to navigate challenges that seemed insurmountable. He understood that this recognition also carried responsibility. He would now be a representative, a bridge, and a symbol of what humans could offer to the galaxy. Lyra smiled, her eyes warm. "You have proven that cooperation and understanding between species can achieve results no one thought possible. We will look to you for guidance, not only for technical challenges, but for insight into human creativity and reasoning. Your contributions mark the beginning of a new era for Jarian and beyond." Elias nodded, feeling a sense of fulfillment he had never known. "I am grateful for the opportunity. I will do my best to continue earning your trust and to help build understanding between our worlds." The queen's gaze softened slightly, a rare show of warmth. "Humans have long been underestimated, Dr. Cade. Today, you have changed that perception. The court, and indeed our civilization, will remember your work and your example. You have opened a door not only for yourself, but for all humans who may come after you." The ceremony continued with the presentation of symbols of honor, crystalline emblems that glowed softly in recognition of achievement. Elias accepted them with a bow, feeling the weight and significance of each one. He noticed the faces of specialists, nobles, and advisors, each reflecting a combination of respect, curiosity, and wonder. Humans, they realized, had a unique approach, creative, adaptive, and capable of solving problems in ways they could not predict. After the formalities, Elias was escorted to a quieter chamber where Princess Lyra waited. She gestured to a window overlooking the city. "Look at what you have accomplished, Elias. Not only have you solved technical challenges, but you have inspired confidence and respect. You have demonstrated that humans have value beyond what others might assume." Elias gazed at the crystalline towers, the flowing energy rivers, and the citizens moving with grace through the streets. "It's hard to believe this is real," he admitted. "I never imagined humans would be recognized like this on another world." Lyra smiled. "Recognition is earned, and you have earned it. More importantly, you have earned trust. That is far more valuable than titles or accolades. Trust opens doors, builds relationships, and allows civilizations to achieve what they cannot alone." Elias nodded thoughtfully. "I see that now. I hope I can continue to live up to it." Lyra's expression softened. "You already have, but remember, this is just the beginning. There are challenges ahead, discoveries to be made, and problems that will require not only skill but creativity and courage. You will need to think differently, as you have already done, to guide our people towards solutions we cannot foresee. Elias felt a thrill of anticipation. For the first time in his life, he was not only participating in something monumental, he was helping shape it. Humans, with their adaptability and unique perspective, could contribute in ways that even the most advanced aliens had overlooked. He understood that his role was both practical and symbolic, showing that humanity had a place in the cosmos, not as observers, but as contributors and innovators. The following days were filled with collaborative projects. Elias worked alongside alien scientists, engineers, and strategists, offering insight that challenged traditional thinking. His suggestions often seemed unconventional at first, but results quickly proved their value. He proposed adjustments to energy flow systems, introduced new approaches to problem solving, and helped decode ancient texts that had stumped generations of scholars. Each success reinforced the respect he had earned and strengthened the bonds between humans and Gyrionians. One afternoon, the Queen requested a personal demonstration of one of Elias' new methods. The chamber was filled with the court's most senior advisors, all eager to see the human's approach in action. Elias calmly explained his reasoning, demonstrating a process that combined logic, intuition, and observation. The results were immediate. What had seemed impossible became clear, and the court erupted in approval. Even the Queen, who rarely showed emotion, allowed a faint smile to appear. "You continue to surprise us, Dr. Cade," she said. "Your contributions are invaluable, and your perspective is one we cannot afford to ignore. You have shown that collaboration, respect, and openness to new ideas can achieve results beyond expectation." Elias felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Recognition from royalty was significant, but what mattered most was the realization that humans could make a meaningful difference. His approach, patience, and creativity had opened doors, built trust, and proven that intelligence and ingenuity were not confined to one species. Princess Lyra approached him afterward. "The court sees you not only as a collaborator but as an example," she said. "You have changed perceptions. Humans will no longer be underestimated here. You have paved the way for understanding, cooperation, and mutual respect." Elias felt a quiet pride but remained humble. "I only hope I can continue to contribute in meaningful ways. There is still much to learn, and I want to help wherever I can." Lyra's eyes glimmered. "That is precisely why you were chosen. You see the world differently, think creatively, and act with integrity. These are qualities that will guide us far into the future." Over the following weeks, Elias continued to work closely with the court, solving technical challenges, advising on strategic projects, and offering insight into human problem-solving methods. His presence became a symbol of the potential humans carried, demonstrating that collaboration across species could yield extraordinary results. Specialists who had once doubted him now sought his guidance, and young aliens began to study human methods alongside their own traditions. Elias had not only proven his skill, but also the value of human perspective. Through observation, creativity, and adaptability, he had earned respect at every level of Gyrionian society. The recognition from the Queen and Princess Lyra was not merely ceremonial. It was a testament to the idea that humans could contribute meaningfully to civilizations far more advanced than their own. One evening, as Elias walked through the palace gardens with Lyra, he reflected on how far he had come. The crystalline flowers glowed softly in the fading light, casting intricate patterns across the pathways. The air was filled with the hum of energy, a gentle reminder of the city's vitality. "Do you ever wonder what humans can accomplish if given the chance?" Lyra asked quietly. Elias smiled. "I think we are capable of more than most people realize. And now I see that even on worlds far from Earth our perspective can make a difference." Lyra nodded. "You have proven that. You have shown that curiosity, Ingenuity and determination are universal qualities, qualities that transcend species, planets, and civilizations. Today, humans are seen in a new light on Gyrion, and that is thanks to you. Elias felt a deep sense of satisfaction. He had arrived as a visitor, uncertain and cautious, yet through observation, creativity, and perseverance, he had earned respect, trust, and recognition. Humans, he realized, were not limited by their origins. They could rise to meet challenges anywhere in the universe. As night fell over Gyrion, the twin moons reflected light across the crystalline towers. Elias gazed at the city below, filled with citizens moving in harmony with energy and light. He understood that he had become part of something greater than himself, a bridge between worlds, a symbol of human potential, and a contributor to discoveries that would shape the future. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility, the thrill of achievement, and the quiet certainty that humans, when given opportunity, could astonish even the most advanced civilizations. The journey had begun with curiosity, had tested skill and creativity, and now it had established respect, collaboration, and a foundation for a future where humans and aliens could work together, learn from each other, and explore the wonders of the universe side by side. Elias Cade smiled, knowing that this was only the beginning. Chosen by royalty, the humans stunned everyone, including the alien queen.